Ladies and gentlemen, you ever feel like everything in your life is just off? Like the very ground you've been walking on done turned into quicksand? Listen to me. When it feels like your whole world is shaking, it's not falling apart, it's falling into place. You ever been in a season where everything you touch seems to fall apart, where the plans you had all lined up just crumble for no reason? You thought this was the one, this job, this relationship, this opportunity. You put in the time, the energy, the prayers, and somehow it still didn't work out. That kind of moment will have you questioning everything. But let me tell you something you need to hear. That disruption you're going through is not punishment, it's preparation. God never wastes a storm. He's not up there throwing chaos into your life just to watch you struggle. Nah, that's not how he moves. When he shakes things up, it's because he's rearranging your life for what's coming next. He saw things you didn't see. He heard conversations you weren't in. He knows what that situation would have cost you if you stayed in it. So sometimes he has to break your plans to protect your purpose. Think about it. If everything always went smooth, if your every plan worked out the way you wanted, you'd never grow, you'd never stretch, you'd never learn to depend on something bigger than yourself. But it's in the shaking, in the uncertainty, in the interruptions that your faith gets built. That's when you start asking the deeper questions. That's when you begin to discover who you really are, and more importantly, who God really is. See, when you lose control of your plans, that's when God takes control of the outcome. And he always sees further than you do. You might think you're being delayed, but he's dodging you from disaster. You might think you're being denied, but really, he's just detouring you to something better than you asked for. That door that slammed in your face, that wasn't rejection, that was redirection. And I know it don't feel good. I know you're sitting there frustrated, disappointed, maybe even angry. You prayed, you believed, you waited, but here's what you got to understand. God didn't forget about you. He didn't overlook you. He's just shaking loose everything that's not strong enough to go where you're headed. He's removing the weak foundations. He's clearing the fake people. He's eliminating the distraction, because where he's taking you, you can't be carrying dead weight. You can't build something big on something shaky. Disruption is a sign that something new is trying to be born in your life. It's a spiritual contraction. The shaking is part of the making. You don't plant a seed and expect it to grow without breaking the ground first. So when your life feels like it's splitting open, maybe it's not breaking down, maybe it's breaking through. The thing that feels like chaos might be construction. God is building something bigger than you expected. And sometimes that means tearing down what you thought was permanent. So stop fighting the disruption. Stop trying to hold together something God is trying to let fall apart. He's not trying to hurt you. He's trying to ready you. You ever been in that space where it feels like nobody really sees you anymore? Like you're surrounded by people, yet somehow still feel completely alone? It's like you're speaking a language no one understands, and even when you try to explain yourself, folks just look at you like you're crazy. You start to wonder if you're losing your mind, if you're the problem. But let me give you a new perspective on that isolation. It's not rejection, it's preparation. You're not being punished, you're being set apart. Because when God is about to take you higher, he has to separate you from the noise. See, elevation requires separation. You can't go to a new level still carrying the weight of the old one. The dreams God placed in your heart, the growth he's pulling out of you, that vision you can't shake. It's not common. So don't expect common people to understand it. You feel misunderstood because you're not meant to fit in. You're meant to stand out. You're meant to lead, to shift, to build. And that kind of assignment, it often comes with a season where God pulls you back so he can work on you privately. You might think people are leaving you. Friends stop calling. The support system you thought was solid suddenly goes quiet. And it hurts because you thought they'd be there. But here's the truth. They were only assigned to your life for a certain chapter, not the whole story. When God is about to take you somewhere new, he doesn't always ask your opinion. He just starts clearing the room. Not everyone can go with you. Not everyone has the capacity to handle what's next in your life. And that's okay. That isolation you're feeling is holy ground. It's where you discover things about yourself you never had time to notice when you were surrounded by noise. It's where God starts revealing your real identity, the one that isn't tied to applause, titles, or followers. It's where you learn to hear his voice above all others. And that voice, that's the one that will carry you when no one else does. This season of being disconnected isn't about loneliness, it's about alignment. You're not losing people, you're finding yourself. You're being positioned for purpose. Sometimes you got to be alone so you can finally focus. Sometimes God has to strip away the distractions just to remind you who you are without all the noise. That quiet place you're in, that's where champions are made. That's where clarity comes. That's where vision sharpens. So don't confuse being alone with being abandoned. You're not being overlooked, you're being overhauled. What feels like separation is actually elevation in disguise. Because before God puts you on display, he always develops you in the dark. You ever been in a place where everything feels like it's taking too long? You prayed, you prepared, you put in the work, and still nothing's moving? Doors that look like they were meant for you stay shut. People who promise to help go silent. Opportunities that seem like a sure thing vanish before your eyes. And you're standing there wondering, God, did I miss it? Did I mess it up? But what you need to know is that delay doesn't mean deny. That delay is divine. It's not just a pause, it's a process. God's timing is never rushed and is never late. He's not operating on your clock. He's operating on purpose. And sometimes that purpose needs you to wait, not because you're not ready to receive the blessing, but because the blessing isn't ready for you just yet. There are pieces behind the scenes being arranged, hearts being shifted, environments being prepared. And if he gave it to you too soon, it might crush you instead of bless you. So he holds it back not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. Delays have a way of exposing what's really inside of you. When things don't go your way, that's when your character gets tested. That's when your patience is developed. See, anybody can believe when everything's going smooth. Anybody can celebrate when doors fly open, but can you still trust God when it feels like you're stuck in the hallway? Can you still clap when nothing's happening? Can you still believe when all you're holding is a promise and no proof? Because in that waiting season, something sacred is happening. God's stretching you. He's teaching you endurance. He's building in you the kind of resilience you'll need when you finally step into what you've been praying for. He's making sure you're strong enough to keep what he gives you. A blessing out of season can become a burden, and God loves you too much to give you something that will break you. So he delays it not to hurt you, but to help you grow into the version of yourself that's ready to carry it. You might look around and see people passing you by. They're getting the job, the house, the relationship, the recognition. And you're sitting there feeling like God skipped over you. But hear this, you're not behind, you're being built. What's coming for you is going to require a level of wisdom and maturity that you can't fake. And this delay, it's making sure you've got it. It's teaching you to lean not on your own understanding, but on God's perfect plan. What feels like a setback is really a setup. The delay is a divine classroom where God is preparing you, humbling you, sharpening you. Because when that door finally opens, you won't be the same person who first knocked. You'll be stronger, wiser, and ready for everything that's on the other side. There's something powerful about the fact that with everything you've been through, you're still standing. You've had moments that should have broken you, situations that made you cry in silence, fake smiles in public, and carry weight no one else could see. But somehow, some way, you're still here, still pushing, still believing. That's not ordinary strength. That's supernatural endurance. That's something flowing through you that's bigger than you. Because let's be real. If it was just up to you, you would have quit a long time ago. You would have given up after that last heartbreak. You would have walked away when the doors kept slamming. You would have thrown in the towel when life didn't make sense. but something inside you refused to let go. Something wouldn't let you stay down. That something is what people, they see your hustle, your grind, your perseverance, but they don't know the fuel behind it isn't just willpower. It's divine power. There's a strength that God gives in the middle of weakness. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it holds you up when everything else is falling apart. It keeps you moving when your energy is gone. It whispers to your soul, keep going, when the world tells you to stop. That's not motivation, that's spiritual reinforcement. That's grace doing heavy lifting in your life. But it's not that the pain didn't hit hard. It's not that you didn't have nights when the tears soaked your pillow. It's not that fear didn't try to paralyze you, but grace showed up like armor. Peace stepped in like a bodyguard. And every time you thought you were at your end, something rose up inside you that said, not yet. That not yet isn't just a delay. It's proof that God's not done with you. People might look at your life and wonder how you made it through what you did. They try to figure it out logically, but it doesn't make sense on paper. That's because it's not logic. It's a miracle. Every step you've taken when you were tired, every prayer you whispered when your faith was running low, every moment you showed up when you had every reason to stay in bed. That's the evidence of supernatural endurance. It's not because you're stronger than everyone else. It's because you're sustained by something stronger than you. This kind of strength doesn't come from the gym. It doesn't come from books. It comes from the fire. It comes from experience. From walking through valleys you didn't ask for and still finding the courage to climb. It comes from knowing you should have been gone, but grace had other plans. And even when you can't see the finish line, even when your hands are tired and your knees feel weak, you somehow keep pressing forward. That's not by accident. That's on purpose. That's divine endurance carrying you when your own legs couldn't. There comes a moment when, after all the struggle, all the waiting, all the questions, you start to notice something shift. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but suddenly little things start falling into place. A phone call at just the right time, an email you weren't expecting, a person you barely know says the exact words you needed to hear, and it makes you pause and think, wait a minute. What's going on here? That's not random. That's not coincidence. That's not luck. That's positioning. See, when you've been walking through a season of delay and discouragement, it's easy to believe nothing's working, but God doesn't forget the seed you planted in faith. He doesn't ignore the tears you cried in private. He saw every sacrifice, every yes when it was hard, every time you kept going when you had no strength left. And when the time is right, those seeds start to sprout, not in some big dramatic way, but through a series of divine alignments that only He could orchestrate. People begin to show up in your life that carry answers to prayers you whispered months ago. Doors you never even knocked on swing open like they've been waiting on you the whole time. The resources you needed, the help you were missing, the wisdom you were seeking, it starts to trickle in one step at a time. And suddenly you realize this isn't just life getting better. This is God lining things up. You weren't lucky, you were led. Every delay was a setup. Every detour had direction. And now in this moment, the pieces start coming together. That thing that didn't make sense 6 months ago, it makes sense now. That connection you thought was just casual, turns out they were the key to your next move. That no you cried about, turns out it saved you from something that would have set you back. It's all connected. And when God starts revealing how it all fits, it humbles you. But here's the beautiful part. These blessings don't show up when you've got it all figured out. They show up when you've surrendered, when you stop trying to force your own plan and finally said, all right, God, have your way. That's when alignment happens. That's when the right people find you, the right doors open, and the right opportunities land in your lap, not because you chased them, but because you were in position. And being in position isn't just about location. It's about posture. It's about having the right heart, the right attitude, the right spirit. It's about staying faithful even when it's hard. It's about doing the right thing when nobody's watching. It's about trusting that God is still working even when you can't see the blueprint. And when you carry that kind of posture, blessings have a way of finding you, not all at once, but piece by piece, like a puzzle you didn't know you were building. There's a moment in life where everything on the outside looks off. The money's funny, the relationships are rocky, the doors are closed, and nothing you're working for seems to be working out. But even in the middle of all that noise, there's this quiet whisper deep inside that says, keep going. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't come with evidence, but it's strong, it's steady, and it refuses to let you quit. That's not just optimism. That's not just blind hope. That's your spirit picking up on what your eyes haven't seen yet. That kind of knowing isn't loud. It's not something you always talk about, but it's real. It's that voice inside you that won't die. Even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart, you can't explain it to people because they're looking at your situation and telling you it's over. They see the failure, they see the setbacks, but what they don't see is what you feel. What they don't know is what God whispered to you in the quiet moments when nobody else was around. See, that deep inner knowing is your spirit tuned into a frequency that doesn't operate on sight. It doesn't wait for proof. It doesn't need applause. It runs on faith. It runs on vision. It runs on the promises that God placed inside you before the storm ever came. And when you have that kind of knowing, you walk different. You might cry, but you keep walking. You might bend, but because something inside is telling you that all this pressure, this pain, this confusion is part of the journey, not the end of it. So you keep going, not because it's easy, not because you have all the answers, but because something in your spirit knows that breakthrough isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when.